Welcome to this deep dive.
Okay.
And today we're going to be going all in on obsession.
Yeah.
Specifically, its role in achieving
Right.
extraordinary things.
I love it.
We're going to be using as our source material excerpts from the book All In by Robert Bruce Shaw.
Okay.
And our mission today is to really unpack what obsession is, where the line is between good obsession and bad obsession, and how this all plays out in both individuals and companies.
I like it.
So, so the book starts out with Jeff Bezos, right, the founder of Amazon, and it paints a picture of him as this incredibly driven person, even as a kid.
Oh, wow.
There's this anecdote about him in Montessori school where his teachers literally had to pick him up and move him in his chair.
Oh, my God.
Because he was so engrossed in whatever activity he was doing.
Wow. So he was always like that, huh?
Yeah. And so you see this with Bezos. Right.
You know, later on.
Yeah.
Obviously he believes luck played a role in Amazon's success.
Of course. Yeah.
But his obsession with making customers happy was really the engine that drove the whole thing.
Yeah, and this is something I think a lot of us can relate to, like, even with luck. That relentless effort towards a clear goal is just essential.
It is.
Yeah, and the book argues that Bezos imprinted this relentless personality onto Amazon itself.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Shaping the company's culture from the top down.
And you see this with so many companies, right?
It's like a company takes on the personality of its founder.
Right?
You ever notice that?
Oh, absolutely.
How a company's culture sometimes feels like a reflection of the person at the top.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that idea of imprinting a personality is especially relevant when we talk about obsession.
Now, the book is careful to distinguish between obsession and the more popular concept of grit.
Okay.
Yeah.
But isn't obsession just grit with a bad reputation?
Not quite.
Okay.
Think of it like this. Grit is the steady climb.
Okay.
Obsession is the free solo ascent.
Whoa.
Right?
Yeah.
Both require dedication.
Yeah.
But obsession has a higher risk of a catastrophic fall.
Right.
And All In argues that while there are definitely risks, that intense focused drive is often what separates the merely successful from those who achieve truly groundbreaking things.
Yeah, and that's where it gets really interesting because All In doesn't shy away from the dark side of this. It brings up leaders like Steve Jobs and Elon Musk, people who achieved amazing things, but whose drive also had some potentially negative consequences.
For sure.
So
exactly.
How do we know? When we've crossed that line, when does passion become detrimental?
That's the question.
Yeah.
Right.
And the book actually asks you to think about a time when you were truly obsessed with a project.
Yeah.
Did it always lead to positive outcomes? Were there any warning signs you might have missed?
For sure. Well, the book actually gives a couple of examples of when obsession went too far.
Okay.
Like, there's this story about an employee who was super dedicated to a project.
Okay.
But their intensity became so disruptive, they were actually fired.
Wow.
Even though they were working on something important.
So it's not just about what you're working on.
Exactly.
It's how you're working on it.
It's how you work with others.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, on the flip side, the book highlights some incredible things that have come from obsession. It talks about the construction of the Brooklyn Bridge.
Wow.
Which wouldn't have been possible without the Roebling family's unwavering dedication.
Yeah.
The father actually died during the construction.
Oh, wow.
And the son, Washington Roebling, continued the project even after suffering from decompression sickness that left him unable to visit the site.
Wow.
He oversaw the project for 13 years.
Wow.
All from his home.
Oh, my gosh. Think about the Brooklyn Bridge. This marvel of engineering fueled by obsession.
Right.
Or Allison Hargreaves scaling mountains.
Yeah.
That most wouldn't dare dream of. What drives people to these extremes. And have you ever had that kind of fire in yourself where nothing else mattered but achieving that one goal?
Yeah, it's a powerful force.
It is.
And the book doesn't just focus on individuals.
Okay.
It also looks at how this plays out within companies. Yeah. Alden examines how organizations can try to manage, cultivate, and even benefit from the obsession of their employees.
Okay, so...
It suggests two main models.
Okay.
There's the special forces model.
Interesting.
Where a small, intensely focused team tackles a really difficult problem.
Okay.
And then there's the more ambitious, but also trickier model of building an entire company culture around obsession.
Okay.
Like Amazon or Tesla.
Yeah.
The book actually shares some of Amazon's interview questions.
Oh, really?
They're not just looking for skills.
Right.
They're trying to gauge a candidate's capacity for productive obsession.
I see.
They want people who are obsessed with the right things and can channel that intensity in a way that benefits the company.
Yeah. So we see how companies try to manage obsession.
Right.
But what about us as individuals? This idea of finding meaningful work.
Yeah.
A true vocation. That's where obsession can really become powerful.
For sure. Yeah, it's interesting how the book connects this idea of obsession to something very specific. The customer examines Jeff Bezos' approach at Amazon, which All In calls customer-centric obsession.
Okay, so what does customer-centric obsession actually look like in practice? We all know Amazon is massive, but how does obsession fit into their strategy?
It's actually at the core of how they operate.
Yeah.
Bezos has this belief that customers are always beautifully, wonderfully dissatisfied, even when they say they're happy. The idea is that people always want something better, even if they haven't articulated it yet.
So it's not just about meeting expectations, it's about exceeding them in ways customers might not even have imagined. That must be hard to do consistently.
It is a challenge, but Bezos' customer-centric obsession is really fascinating. He doesn't just want to meet expectations, he wants to exceed them before customers even know what they want. It's about anticipating needs, eliminating friction, and making the experience so good they never even need to contact customer service.
Wow, so each interaction with a customer service rep is like a failure in their eyes.
Exactly. And the book argues that this constant innovation is a direct result of that obsession. It's what keeps them ahead of the game.
It's like they're obsessed with making the customer's life as easy and enjoyable as possible, almost to a fault.
That's a great observation, and it takes the focus off competitors and puts it squarely on the customer. Bezos has actually said that being competitor-focused means you have to wait for them to do something.
Right.
But being customer-focused allows you to be much more innovative and pioneering.
So instead of just reacting to what others are doing, you're setting the pace.
Exactly. And that outside-in mindset is what All In highlights about Amazon. They start with the customer and work backward to figure out what's best for them. The company's own desires come second.
Okay, that makes sense. Do they give any specific examples of how this works?
There are a few great ones. Bezos believes that the ideal customer experience is one where the customer never has to contact the company at all.
Wow, that's pretty radical, right? Most companies are all about increasing customer interaction, not eliminating it.
It is a unique approach. But for Bezos, each customer service interaction is viewed as a defect, a sign that something went wrong. That information is then used to fix the problem and further improve the experience.
So they're not just making customers happy in the moment, they're trying to predict and solve problems before they even happen. How do they do that?
Data plays a huge role. The book explains how Amazon uses data to track customer behavior and personalize the entire shopping experience.
So they're constantly learning, gathering information on what customers want, what they're buying, what they're saying, and then using that to get even better.
It's a powerful feedback loop. And then there's this concept of day one, which is fundamental to Amazon's culture.
What is day one? I haven't heard that before.
It's this idea that no matter how big you get, you should always operate with the same urgency, innovation, and customer focus that you had on your very first day in business.
So avoid complacency. Stay hungry even when you're already incredibly successful.
Exactly. And All In argues that this mindset is a big part of what's allowed Amazon to grow and innovate at such a rapid pace.
It's like they're constantly reminding themselves that they're still a startup, even though they're one of the biggest companies on the planet. Do they talk about how they actually put this into practice?
The book talks about how they're constantly experimenting, launching new products, expanding into new markets. It's this relentless pursuit of growth, all driven by this underlying obsession with the customer.
That's really interesting. And all of this must influence who they hire, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The book goes into their interview process, specifically how they look for people who have the potential to be productively obsessed.
I remember they mentioned some of those questions earlier.
Exactly. And they have this really intriguing concept called bar raisers.
What are bar raisers?
They're employees who've shown they're incredibly good at evaluating potential hires, specifically for cultural fit.
Yeah.
They actually have the authority to veto a candidate, even if the hiring manager wants to bring them on board.
So it's about maintaining a really high bar for talent and making sure everyone from the bottom up shares this customer-centric obsession.
It's all very strategically aligned. Now, this approach has obviously been incredibly successful for Amazon, but the book acknowledges that it isn't without its critics.
Right. I've heard about some of the criticisms regarding how Amazon treats its employees.
Yes, there have been reports about a very demanding work environment, high levels of stress, and burnout. The book doesn't shy away from that. It presents a balanced view, acknowledging both the achievements and the potential downsides of this intense customer-centric approach.
So it raises questions about whether this level of obsession is truly sustainable in the long run, both for the company and the people who work there.
Those are questions only time will tell, but it's definitely a conversation worth having. Now, this discussion about Amazon and their customer-centric obsession leads into another fascinating profile in the book, which focuses on Elon Musk and his very different type of obsession.
We hear about Elon Musk everywhere, but how does All In characterize his particular brand of obsession?
It portrays him as someone deeply driven to create incredible products, things that push the boundaries of what's possible. He's not just about making money, he's about solving big, complex problems and leaving a lasting mark on the world.
And that drive certainly comes across in everything he does. Does the book give any insights into how he actually approaches this?
It highlights a few key things. One is his focus on first principles thinking.
First principles thinking? What is that exactly?
It's about breaking down complex problems into their most fundamental elements. Instead of just accepting conventional wisdom, you challenge assumptions and build solutions from the ground up.
So you're not just making small improvement, you're completely reimagining the possibilities.
Exactly. And Musk uses this to tackle all sorts of things. Electric car design, reusable rockets, even the potential of artificial intelligence.
It's that constant push for innovation that's made him such a force in so many industries.
Absolutely. And that innovation is fueled by his belief in the power of technology. He really believes that technology can solve humanity's biggest challenges.
It seems like he's putting his money where his mouth is, too.
He's definitely willing to invest heavily, both time and resources, to make his vision a reality. And this belief is clear in everything he does. Tesla's electric cars, SpaceX's rockets, even Neuralink's brain-machine interfaces.
He's really pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible.
And another key element of his obsession is a focus on quality. The book talks about how meticulous he is with every detail of his products. From the initial design to the engineering to the end-user experience, he doesn't settle for good enough.
That's pretty inspiring, honestly, to have that level of commitment to excellence.
It is remarkable, and you see that commitment reflected in the reputation of his companies. Tesla's sleek designs, SpaceX's reliability, Neuralink's advancements in neuroscience. It's that pursuit of quality that has helped him achieve such incredible things.
But I guess it can't all be roses, right? There must be downsides to that level of intensity.
You're right. The book doesn't shy away from that. It addresses Musk's demanding work ethic, his tendency to micromanage, even his sometimes volatile behavior. It also looks at how this drive has affected his personal life, the relationships he's had.
So it's another example of how obsession can be a double-edged sword, even when it's channeled towards building amazing things.
It's a good reminder that even the most brilliant driven people are still human now, with all this talk about Musk's product-centric obsession. All In makes a really important point about finding balance. It's not enough to just have a vision, you also need to execute it well.
He's definitely a visionary, but I can see how that could be a challenge for him.
He's acknowledged that building a successful company needs more than just brilliant ideas. You need strong operational skills. You need to be able to build and manage a team effectively.
It's about bringing people along with you, inspiring them to share that vision.
Exactly. And the book goes into some of the things Musk has learned along the way, like the importance of seeking feedback, delegating responsibility, and really focusing on building strong teams.
It's about understanding that even the most driven leader can't do everything themselves. You need the right people around you.
Right. And from this discussion of product-centric obsession, the book takes us to a very different example. Travis Kalanick and his obsession with growth at Uber.
Uber. They definitely disrupted things, but there were a lot of controversies along the way. How does All In present Kalanick's story?
It's really fascinating because his obsession with growth led to both amazing success and ultimately his downfall. He's presented as someone who is absolutely determined to make Uber the dominant force in the ride-sharing industry, no matter the cost.
He was willing to take risks, break rules, and really shake things up.
Exactly. And the book highlights a few key aspects of his approach. One is his laser focus on disruption. He saw this huge opportunity to upend the traditional taxi industry, and he was relentless in pursuing it.
And he did disrupt things, that's for sure. Uber's growth was incredible. They challenged everything we thought we knew about transportation.
They did. But All In also dives into the dark side of that rapid growth. The ethical controversies, the legal battles, the stories about a toxic work environment.
It's almost like the pursuit of growth became the only thing that mattered and everything else fell by the wayside.
That's one of the key takeaways here. Obsession, even when it's aimed at something positive, like making transportation more accessible, can have unintended consequences if you're not careful.
So what's the lesson there? How do we prevent that from happening?
All In stresses the importance of strong values and ethical guardrails. Because obsession can be so powerful, it can also blind you to potential problems.
It's almost like you need a checks and balances system for your own passions.
That's a great way to put it. The book recommends a few things: actively seeking feedback from others, being really mindful of the consequences of your actions, and creating a culture of accountability within your team or company.
It's about recognizing that passion doesn't give you a license to behave recklessly or unethically, and you need to create systems that help you stay on track.
Right, and from this discussion about growth-obsessed leadership, the book takes us to the concept of vocation and how it connects to obsession.
So how does All In define vocation? Is it just another word for your job?
It's much deeper than that. It's described as a calling, a deep sense of purpose and meaning that drives you to pursue a specific path in life. It's about finding work that feels like more than just a job. It's about finding your life's work.
That's beautiful, and it makes sense that obsession would play a role there when you're truly passionate about something. You're willing to pour your heart and soul into it.
Exactly, and the book talks about two different perspectives on how people discover their vocation. One is the idea of uncovering a calling that already exists within you waiting to be found.
Like it was there all along, just waiting for the right moment to emerge.
They use the musician Mark Knopfler as an example of this. He knew music was his thing from a very young age. But then there's another perspective, which is that you actually create your calling over time.
So it's not something you find, it's something you build through effort and exploration.
The book uses Brian Chesky, the co-founder of Airbnb, as an example here. He didn't have a clear sense of calling early on, but he found it through trial and error, through experimenting and following his interests.
That's a really encouraging perspective, actually. It means finding meaningful work doesn't always require this sudden epiphany. Sometimes it's about actively shaping your own path.
That's a great point. And All In then delves into some of the common traits of people who are vocationally obsessed. One is this deep sense of meaning and purpose in their work.
They're not just clocking in and out. They're working towards something bigger than themselves.
Exactly. And that sense of purpose can be incredibly powerful. It fuels their drive, their willingness to push through challenges.
And what else? What other traits do these people tend to have?
They also tend to have this unwavering commitment to excellence. They're always striving to get better, to learn and grow, to push the boundaries of what's possible in their field.
So it's not just about passion, it's about channeling that passion towards achieving something truly great.
Right, and when you combine that deep sense of purpose with a commitment to excellence, that's when you see really extraordinary accomplishments happen.
But surely even with a vocation, this level of intensity must come with some downsides.
The book is very honest about that. It talks about the sacrifices that often come with pursuing a calling with this level of commitment.
Like what specifically?
The long hours, the missed social events, the potential strain on relationships. It even mentions the risk of burnout. It's a good reminder that any path, even one filled with passion, has its trade-offs.
So it's about being honest with yourself about what you're willing to give up. Is this dream really worth the potential costs?
It's a question worth asking, and this leads into another key point, that All In raises the challenge of finding balance between work and life, especially for those who are deeply driven by their vocation.
It's easy to get swept up in your work, to let it consume you, especially when you feel so connected to it.
Exactly. And the book presents a few different perspectives on this, ranging from Jeff Bezos' idea of work-life harmony to Travis Kalanick's more extreme approach of putting work above everything else.
So it's about finding a rhythm that works for you, a way to fully invest in your work without sacrificing your well-being or other important parts of your life.
All In suggests a few strategies for this: setting boundaries, prioritizing self-care, and finding support from others.
It's a reminder that even the most dedicated, driven people need time to rest and recharge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this discussion about work-life balance takes us to the book's final chapter, which is all about managing obsession, both at the individual and organizational level.
Yeah, it really is a challenge, right? Finding that sweet spot between, diving headfirst into your passions and keeping things, grounded and practical.
Yeah, finding that balance is tough.
Now, one of the things All In does really well is explore how organizations can actually build a culture that supports and nourishes healthy obsession.
Yeah, because it's not just about hiring the right people. Yeah.
It's about giving them the space to actually do great things.
It's about creating an environment where those people can truly thrive.
Mm-hmm.
And the book breaks down these key elements of a culture that really supports this kind of drive.
Right.
And one of the most important things is clarity of purpose.
Clarity of purpose.
Yeah. The organization needs to be super clear about what it's obsessed with, whether it's, customer satisfaction, innovative products, solving a specific problem, whatever it might be.
Right. So it's like everyone on the team needs to be rowing in the same direction.
Exactly.
And they need to know what that direction is.
Yeah. When everyone understands the mission, the values, the ultimate goal, it creates a much stronger sense of purpose. And that's incredibly motivating.
Right, especially for people who are naturally driven.
Especially for those who tend towards obsession.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like having a shared North Star.
That's a great analogy.
That guides everyone's actions.
And another crucial element
is
a high tolerance for risk and failure.
Oh, this is interesting.
Yeah, companies need to create an environment where people feel safe to experiment, to push boundaries, even if it means, falling flat on their face sometimes.
Yeah, because often, failure is just a stepping stone to something better.
Exactly. If you're not willing to fail, you're probably not going to achieve anything groundbreaking.
Right.
And a culture that embraces failure also encourages learning and growth.
That's so important.
It allows people to adapt, to iterate, to constantly get better.
Yeah. Foster that growth mindset.
Now, even though we're talking about people who are very self-motivated, All In also emphasizes the importance of collaboration and teamwork.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, obsessive individuals often need the support and the input of others to really bring their ideas to life.
Right. Even the most brilliant people can't do everything alone.
Exactly.
Right.
And the book suggests that companies should actively build structures that foster collaboration, whether it's, cross-functional teams, brainstorming sessions, anything that encourages people to, get together, share their ideas, and work together.
Right. Create a space where they can bounce ideas off each other.
Exactly.
Challenge assumptions.
Yeah.
And really leverage everyone's strengths.
And then another key element is a commitment to ongoing learning and development. These are people who want to constantly improve. So it's important for companies to provide opportunities for them to expand their skills and their knowledge.
Right. And it keeps them engaged. And it also, shows them that the company is invested in their growth.
Absolutely.
Which I think can foster a lot of loyalty and dedication.
It really can.
And it helps the company stay ahead of the curve, too.
Right. A company that's committed to learning is a company that's adaptable.
Yeah.
And finally, All In Act highlights the importance of recognizing and celebrating successes.
Oh, this is so important.
Yeah, people want to feel valued for their contributions, especially those who are pouring so much of themselves into their work.
Yes, creating a culture of appreciation, I think, can make such a difference.
It really can. It's about letting people know that their efforts are seen and they're appreciated. It's about striking a balance.
Yeah.
You set high standards, you push for excellence, but you also acknowledge and reward the people who are striving to reach those goals. You create this positive, supportive environment where people feel good about what they're doing.
Yeah, I think we've really gone deep.
We have.
Into the world of obsession with this deep dive.
For sure.
We've looked at the good, the bad, how it plays out in people's lives, within companies.
Right.
We've learned from some incredible, albeit flawed examples.
Oh, yeah.
Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Travis Kalanick.
Yeah, and All In has given us a lot to think about.
Yeah.
How we view our own passions, how we navigate our own drive, and how we create spaces where healthy obsession can flourish.
I think the biggest takeaway for me is that obsession can be a force for good, but it's also a force that needs careful management.
Right.
You need self-awareness, balance, ethical boundaries, a supportive environment for it to truly thrive.
To our listeners out there, as you continue on your own paths, remember these insights. think about how you can harness your own passion and drive.
Yeah.
While also staying mindful of those potential pitfalls.
Because obsession is a powerful tool.
It is.
Use it wisely, and I think we can all achieve some pretty incredible things.
I agree.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep pushing boundaries, and keep striving for excellence.